Coming to you live here from Ma On Shan Country Park, expansive park offering mountain trails with vast vistas, a former mine, wildlife, and picnic spots over here in Hong Kong. We are, of course, here today in Hong Kong with day number 2, well, day number 3 overall, I suppose, but qualifier number 2 of the Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, Mongolia, Japan. I think I messed the order of that up a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Those are the regions of the DreamHack Valencia, DreamHack Masters Valencia regional close qualifiers. I'm, of course, Yakuzaku of the Zaku once again, joined today with El Creador de Streams que habla fluido memes, Light_VIP. How we doing, Light?
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much, Yaku. We are back with qualifier number 2. As a reminder, this is the final open qualifier for Taiwan, Hong Kong. This is the final chance that all of these players have to qualify. And oh boy, it's gonna be brutal, mate. Thankfully, the seeding is looking pretty good. And looking at the bracket, some of the favorites are gonna be avoiding each other.
Oh. Yeah, they shouldn't be clashing here today. Just taking a quick look. Yeah, there might be one pretty brutal match in the upper part of that in the upper part of today's bracket. But other than that, it looks like for the most part, the people who we expect to make it out should make it out.
Yeah, we'll see.
I say that, but it depends. There's always room for an upset.
Yeah, there's always room for an upset. Specifically, I'm talking about Yogur as well as Bistork have avoided each other. They are on opposite ends of the bracket. And speaking of, we are going to be casting one of them here as we are loading into our very first series of the night.
Yeah, you know him, you love him. We've been covering him for the past 2-3 years now at this point in weekly events, in more, you know, qualifiers, big event qualifiers, I should say, and even the main events themselves. And so we're going to be sticking with that today as we load into Berliningrad, LE. We're in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. We have a pink Protoss player playing from the land of Hong Kong. He is, of course, going to be representing his team, the Juggernauts, the Not Army, otherwise known as the Navy. He is Bistork.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Berliningrad LE, we have a bit of a new face, for me anyway, hailing from the land of Taiwan, representing Naive Dream World NDW. It is Anemos.
Straight out of Taiwan.
Straight out of Taiwan. Again, Naive Dream World is the most common team in Taiwan, so I guess, you know, he's in there amongst the rest of them. But I'll be honest, this is the first time we're casting him unless he's using an alternate ID.
Yeah, I mean, it's
back.
like you said, he already qualified, but he wants to qualify twice.
Let's go.
No, but yeah, you're probably right on that. Obviously, I would imagine if he's on Naive Dream World, then they are probably, you know, somebody who is very active in the region, somebody who does play a lot and, you know, does sign up quite a bit. But yeah, for us in these DreamHack qualifiers, this is the first time that I believe we're going to be able to cast this guy.
Yeah, so really it's like, show us what you got, you know, what does he have to offer? He is GM, by the way, you know, he is GM on the Korean server, so he's pretty goddamn good. Is he good enough to take down a player like Bistork, though? Because we do have a Zealot first. The Zealot is going to be rushing across the map, and behind this, Bistork does have a proxy gateway.
I was so worried that was an SCV coming to scout that, but it was actually a probe. Bistork has done a pretty good job of trying to herd the SCV away from his proxy location. The Reaper will see, no matter what.
Oh my. Yeah, great scouting here by the Reaper. Looking at his vision, he did in fact see that proxy gateway, so now he knows 100% that something is coming his way. Bunker is already on the way. We do have a Marine coming out as well, but can he prepare in time? Because he has very limited production, and the first stalker is here.
First stalker is here, and of course the scariest part right now, even despite having the bunker, he doesn't have a wall up. It doesn't really take much for these units to walk past one another. One Marine and one Reaper. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of firepower there, but he is able to keep them alive.
He is
So
barely...
that is something.
Yeah, he keeps him alive. Unfortunately, he does lose 2 SCVs, and he will not finish this CC. It is delayed for the time being. But some of these Stalkers are a little bit out of range of the bunker, so they're going to be powering through this depot. And there's only 1 Marine being produced at a time. He's going to break through.
Yeah. Just looking at how things are going right now, the math is not in Anemos' favor. Pretty much no matter what he does. It's gonna take a miracle or for Bistork to lose power in his building, I guess, for him to turn this around.
Yeah, the depot goes down. He gets into the main base. He can even take down the tech lab on the factory if he so wants to. Boys are being pulled because they have to be pulled, but even here, like the micromate, it's gonna be good enough.
Yeah, honestly, with good enough drone drilling and a good enough surround, then maybe there's a chance for Anemos, but at the same time, he would be losing a lot of SCVs regardless. Cyclone only about halfway done. This is not looking too great.
Yeah, and even 1 Cyclone is not going to be enough. There we go. We have a focus fire on the tech lab, so 1 Cyclone is all we're going to have this game for the time being, and Bistork, he's barely lost anything. He lost a Zealot and a Pylon.
Yeah, no, he's working on his own natural expansion back at home. The CC here for Anemos still delayed, by the way. Hasn't really been able to get that up and running. Bistork is transitioning away, but I mean, Balls is so far in this court right now.
Exactly, mate. He is so far ahead in the workers. Eventually, this will be cleaned up. Oh my god, the Cyclone! Get away, puppy! Get away! The flanking Stalker!
1 more hit! He is able to take out the Cyclone, and with that, I mean, I thought we were gonna have Bistork transition out, but with the death of that Cyclone, there is real potential for him to end it now if he keeps going.
Well, I mean, the tech lab is gone. You know, he just can't rebuild the Cyclone. And the Cyclone was the real powerhouse behind the army of Anemos. Finally, Bistork is forced away. Finally, the CC has finished up here on the natural base, but there's just not a lot here to work with. Thankfully, it looks like Bistork is down. Never mind. I was like, is he gonna calm down? Nah, he just keeps warping in more Stalkers.
Yeah, he's realized that if he keeps pushing, there's a pretty good chance that he can just end the game in his favor here. But I do like that he isn't neglecting his tech either. He is working on getting Blink that would, you know, further secure him here. And obviously, if Anemos is able to, you know, pull off a bit of a miracle defense here and is able to deflect this, he is going to need that tech to survive in the future. But that was copium on my part. Bistork takes aim with 1.
Bistork rocks up, mate. He says, welcome to DreamHack, mate. What do you...
Wake up from your naive dream.
Exactly,
world.
Mate. This is reality, mate. Let's go. Bistork does take the first game in very Bistork fashion again. He's one of the more aggressive players in the region.
Oh,
and...
Are you...
Oh. Yeah, I may have to join manually here, but yeah, he is one of the more aggressive players in the region, and oh, that was a rough start here, rough introduction for Anemos.
Yeah, as you were saying, you know, Anemos, he is GM, he is a pretty dang good player, but the fact that Bistork decided to go for a proxy like that on Berlingrad game number 1, it's kind of unfortunate. We weren't quite able to. I'm sure he hasn't shown us his full potential just yet. And if we get a bit of a more standard game here on 2,000 atmospheres, or not even a standard game, you know, if Bistork just calms the heck down in game number 2, I'm sure we will see a much greater showing for Anemos here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, if there was ever going to be a proxy, it would have been on Berlingrad, let's be real. You know, that's one of the more aggressive maps in the map pool. So now that we end up in a more standard map, I would hope to see a little bit more from Anemos. Again, this is kind of his debut, for us at least. And I would hate to see him go so quickly.
In the last qualifier, too. I mean, was he here a couple of days ago in qualifier number 1? I can't say I recognize the name. So that, yeah, well, regardless, we are going to be continuing our series on 2,000 atmospheres. LE, of course, we're in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, standing all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. We have a pink Protoss player hailing from the land of Hong Kong. He is, of course, going to be representing Juggernauts, the Naut Army, the Nautical Army, otherwise known as Navy. He is Bistork. Hashtag beef.
And spawning in the top right hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres ALE, we have a bit of a more newcomer hailing from the land of Taiwan, currently down in the series but not out, representing Naive Dream World. And DW, it is Anemos.
Straight from the underground.
Yeah, and I was just quickly checking Wikipedia, and yes, Anemos, at least when it comes to Wikipedia, has only competed in the Blazing Series tournaments, like the more kind of regional Taiwan-focused events. It looks like he may have played in some DreamHack qualifiers, but if he did, he didn't make it far enough to make it in those brackets on Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate that, you know, just because of how formatting works, we don't quite get to see everybody who signed up. But who knows? Maybe, I mean, it's kind of rough going up against Bistork, but I don't know, man. Maybe if we see him a little more consistently, there's a chance for another player to disrupt the Protoss triumvirate over there in Taiwan.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, everyone has to start somewhere, right? You know, you can't just come in and just pop off and be the next Reigner. But you know, I definitely have my attention here on Anemos, especially because this time Bistork, his buildings are at home. There is no proxy. Anemos will be able to get into a much more comfortable game.
And already we see what he's doing with that comfort. So he completely skipped out on his Reaper this game, built one Marine, and then is utilizing his gas to get a reactor and a factory. Are we feeling more barracks is coming out here late?
We'll see. We'll see. Especially because we're not going to have any kind of add-on switch for the time being. The factory is pretty far out there for kind of like Hellion switch or anything like that. So, yeah, I'm really curious for our Terran player, just because when it comes to the Protoss, Bistork, this is a pretty standard opener, you know, Twilight Council.
Yeah, yeah. We've seen this before, you know. Like, nothing new.
That's kind of what we expect to see from Bistork. But for the time being, Bistork, you know, he's just keeping his opponent in check, trying to pick up whatever he can. He did get one SCV, but only one. The CC was able to finish on time. And there we have it. We do have a tech lab on the way with this factory. I'm curious if we're going to see a little bit of a switch there, or if we're just going to open up with the Cyclone.
The Adept manages to make it through, and Bistork will confirm the 1-1-1. Which may throw him off a little bit, not gonna lie. I mean, personally here, like, I'm so used to Terran players throwing out a 3 racks at least once in a series.
Yeah.
It's so odd to see a 1-1-1 now.
I think we just cost too much cure, you know?
Really do.
Oh god, we're so used to it. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, I did notice the very fast Robo, and I was kind of perplexed by that. I was like, yo, are we gonna see DTs? We are, in fact. A Dark Shrine is thrown down. This is not for a Blinkstalk opener. This is for DTs, and this is why I start to worry a little bit more. Hopefully the macro of Anemos isn't too good. Hopefully he has a little bit of energy left over for... Oh, look at him go!
Yeah, I was really worried for that on that for a second, but the minute I saw he was getting a Raven and not a Banshee, I heaved a huge sigh of relief. You know, I may not know Anemos, but as a fellow Terran player, I know how painful it is to die to DTs by not having scans or Ravens.
Yeah, like, this is honestly really solid for as far as a 1-1-1 goes. You know, he went for a Cyclone first in case it was a Stargate opener, so he's in position for an Oracle. He's even protecting his main base with all these Marines, and he's going for that Raven as well, so he's just playing very, very safe.
Yeah, and Bistork, the way Bistork has opened up, he is kind of betting on getting damage dealt. Damage that he might not get in the end here. So very nice body blocking on one of the DTs. He's able to take it out as the Raven pops off. Not entirely sure if the scan was worth it. That could have been a mule, but like you said, he was just trying to stay safe. He just doesn't want to take any unnecessary risks. He's getting his eBay now. He's just working on a very, very strong 2-base timing. Yeah,
I mean, let's be real. If 3 DTs go into your main base and the only damage they deal is they force a scan, like, that's pretty good, like, for the Terran. Like, you know, Anemos, he's going to be feeling pretty good about himself and about his opener, but Bistork, he isn't done. He's diving in with a couple of Archons, and with good enough micro, ooh, the lock-on is on the Archon, not on the War Prism.
Yeah, and it does break off as the Archon gets into the Warp Prism, so there is still a little bit of pressure here on Anemos. Bistork does have the ability to contain Anemos for a little while, but those tables are going to turn once Stim and +1 finish up.
Yeah, exactly. They're still on the way, though. The Archons are trying to pick off whatever they can. They will end up getting a handful of those Marines. That is it for the time being. Behind this Bistork, he is expanding. Third base is on the way. And a really nice transition out of these DTs is to go straight into charge lots, to go into those charge lot, into that charge lot Archon composition.
Yeah, we do call it the Beef Wave, and who is beefier as a Protoss player than Bistork? Very good lock onto the Warp Prism, and Bistork trying to be a little fancy, and with that, he will lose the Warp Prism and one of his Archons. Things are looking up for our Red Terran player.
Exactly, just like that. Anemos doesn't have a single thing to worry about back at home. There is no Warp Prism to harass his main base. He can, he can probe up, or he can go for this push, and honestly, this push is going to hit quite nicely with all these upgrades.
Yeah, Combat Shield finishing up now. Stim should be done by the time he hits across the map. +1 will be a little ways off, but it shouldn't be too far behind either. Bistork right now, he's got to be thinking to switch gears. He's got to be thinking defensively, but he's moving across the map still.
I don't know about this, buddy. I mean, it looks like he was trying to catch the Raven as it was moving out across the map because it was spotted by the Observer, but Anemos will be able to shut that down, and now Anemos is trying to find the best avenue of attack. Bistork getting ready for an attack on the right-hand side. Anemos goes up the ramp.
Completely, yeah, completely unguarded here. Bistork pulling a bit of Singapore.
Oh god.
Even the natural base is unguarded. This is the Protoss player finding himself completely out of position. That's a decent choke point, I suppose, for the Archons to utilize, but Symbio just goes up another ramp.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, the army of Anemos wasn't really covered by the tank or the Winter Mines. They were kind of hoping to maybe catch a flank, but they really didn't do too much. Despite that, though, a couple of pylons went down, and Anemos still taking a great fight.
Yeah, nice target firing on that Immortal, but as you were saying, those Marines were just a little too far away from tank fire.
Yeah.
Archons got so many volleys off on them, and just like that, Bistork, it was looking very shaky, not gonna lie. But he's held. He's held, and he's only lost a handful of probes.
Is he ever extending? The Immortals are looking so exposed, but Anemos misses the army. Two ships passing in the night. We may end up in a little bit of a pseudo base trade. The War Prism goes down, but of course we do have a recall available.
Yeah, and already Bistork has taken a little bit of the initiative by forcing a cancel on that third base. He recalls at the third base, which, oh no, the mines, light the mines!
One mine will go, so will the other three. They take out the majority of these Zealots. Is that going to be enough here? In the end, he picks up. He doesn't commit to a fight.
Very smartly done by Anemos. He picks off 15 probes, which is what he absolutely needed to do. Still hurting a little bit in his own, when it comes to his own bases. Again, Bistork was on 3 bases for a very long time. But this is a start for our Protoss player.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where Bistork has been on 3 bases for a long time, but after all those probe kills, now Anemos is ahead in the economy. Like, he has dealt the damage that he needed to. He is looking to go and take that third base. He has completed it here in the main base, just has to land on location. At the same time, goes for another drop, catches some more Stalkers.
Yeah, those Stalkers were not quite one-shotting these medevacs like they could have. Forces a scan out here, which is something, and will chase away these medevacs, but the majority of the bio stays alive. The medevacs are still alive, and this is just damage that's going to add up as time goes on.
Yeah, exactly. Like Bistork, he's still hurting in that probe count. Like, it's still in the gutter, only 40 probes, and he's not probing up, by the way. I feel like he may just go for a +2 timing and just send it across the map. At least unless, okay, there we go. He starts probe production again. Never mind.
Yep. Yeah, it kind of feels like he was thinking about it a little bit. He was kind of thinking, well, what if I just hit him right now? But then kind of realized, wait a minute, I don't want to attack an entrenched Terran player unless I have a very sophisticated army.
Yeah, and
He's relying a lot on gateway units now.
He really is. Like, we don't really have a lot to work with here for Bistork. I mean, we have charge lots, to be fair. We do have blink on our Stalkers. We have +1, but we have no consistent splash damage. So the longer this goes on, the harder it is going to be. Meanwhile, the ghosts come out. How good are the EMPs?
He doesn't want to risk it. Decent EMP, but it takes more than one. Oh no, I think he actually... No! He EMP'd the Archon. but his other ghost was caught up in it as well.
But you know what?
Bad, man.
It's okay because we have double Liberator Harass, 11 more probes go down, 0 mining at the natural and the third base. Bistork, he is broke right now. His economy is in shambles, and Anemos, he is skyrocketing in supply.
He absolutely is. Despite the base lead that Bistork has had for so long, the harassment from Anemos has been beautiful. Never overcommitting once, slowly but surely getting himself to a point where now he's 20 workers ahead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I'm honestly a little bit surprised. Man, he still got the Raven alive from the early game as well. Like,
wow,
the urge.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he fought the urge to all army hockey so much this entire game. Crazy. Because that he's got a very beefy army. Even if there was splash damage, look at the insane amount of marauders there are in this army.
Yeah, it's gonna take a bit more than a handful of immortals to chew through those marauders. We do have Colossus coming up now, which will do really well against the Marines, but like you were saying, the Marauders are what he really has to worry about, and I'm not entirely convinced he has enough of a buffer for those Colossus.
And to be fair, like, it's not just that. Because the Raven's alive from the early game, we even have disables, mate. Like, that's crazy to think about.
Yes, disables.
Yeah. He's topped up on NG. The Raven is a little bit low, so it is a little bit vulnerable. We'll see how he ends up utilizing these spells here, whether it's EMPs, whether it's that Raven energy, as he's trying to shark his way around, looking for potential fourth. Confirms there's nothing here. Confirms the location of the army.
And now he's hedging his bets. You notice that Bistork is repositioning. He does see that it's a bit of a small army. He's sending forth a couple of ghosts.
EMP. Oh!
EMPs were pretty good.
Yeah. They missed the Archons, but they do connect with the Colossus.
Yeah, I said pretty good, but maybe I should have said they were good enough. He is losing SCVs across the map to DTs, but I think it's kind of a moot point now. He's breaking down the walls. He even throws down an anti-armor missile for good measure.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Zealots, not DTs. All right.
We do have a bit of a Zealot run, but their reinforcements back at home. They will be able to clean everything up. Meanwhile, when it comes to the Protoss army, we have one Colossus and basically only one Colossus. The Bio army is far too good. We see him stim on forward, and he snipes the Colossus.
2 army supply. Bistork is on now 6 army supply. There really shouldn't be a way for him to hold against this. He's producing like 2 Stalkers at a time. That ain't gonna be enough, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Pylon goes down, Robo goes down as well. There will be no longer any kind of splash damage available for our Protoss player. And Anemos, despite having a really hard time in game number 1, he's coming back and he's making a series out of this.
He absolutely is. Terran production. It's a beautiful thing to behold when it gets to its full potential. GG, we're getting to our ace match, which means, Light. Which means we might not have Bistork advancing, as crazy as it is to think about.
Oh my god, wow. That is crazy to think about. That is absolutely insane. I do see someone asking in the chat who maybe isn't too familiar with the Taiwanese and Hong Kong scene. Who are these players? Mate, if you don't know who Bistork is, he 2-0'd Zest a month ago. That's who Bistork is. He is one of the best players in all of this region. But here in qualifier number 2, like, he made it all the way to the qualifying match in qualifier number 1, all the way to the ace match as well. But here, he's struggling a little bit.
Spit. Terran, man.
Oh god, that was really well done by Anemos. Again, the early game went as well as it could have, right? Bistork ended up putting himself behind, going for the DTs, and also losing that War Prism early on as well for not really much of anything. Only a handful of Marine kills and like a scan.
Pretty much, yeah. And just like that, we're hedging it all in Hotwire. I'm curious to see if Bistork will kind of revert into doing another proxy from here or another rush from here and be like, alright, gloves are off. I wanted to play a macro game.
Yeah.
Or I've hit my quota of macro games for the day.
Yeah.
One.
That's the thing, right? Like, regardless of how this goes, it's going to be crazy, mate. Like, I just can't believe that we are here in an ace match. Like, again, we had a bit of an enigma here, a player that we haven't casted before, a player that we haven't seen in these qualifiers before, and ace match against Bistork. Crazy.
Maybe it's Nas and Sun. Alright, well, we'll figure out our answers eventually as we conclude this best of 3 match here on Hotwire LE. We're in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the top right-hand corner. We, of course, have a pink Protoss player coming out from the land of Hong Kong. He was easily the favorite in this bracket going into it today, but now is just one map away from elimination. Can he bring it back? We'll see. Representing the Juggernauts, he is Bistork.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Hardwire LE, we have the Taiwanese Terran player himself, representing Naive Dream World. It is Anemos. He's doing it!
Yo! You love to see it. There is an SCV going across the map.
Oh god, that there is. Again, Bistork is doing what he does best. He is an incredibly aggressive Protoss player. The Rax is at home, but the SCV is headed across the map. It is looking to try and scout his opponent and see what the hell is going on.
He's going to scout there's no expansion, and he should be able to scout a lack of pylon as well.
Yeah, exactly, as the SV does finally get across the map. I am a little bit worried. Again, he was a little bit greedy on Berlingrad, but it was Berlingrad, so like Zealots and Stalkers could reinforce from across the map pretty quickly, all things considered. So I do think Anemos will be able to defend a little bit faster. He does recognize that there is only one pylon here in the main base.
I'm loving this from Anemos. He is not taking any risk whatsoever. He's building his CC on the high ground. He's going to defend from the high ground. This is a solid foundation of defense here for our Terran player.
You love to see it. The Reaper is scouting for the proxy. He's trying to find out where it is, and looking at the rally, he will find it.
Just like so. Alright, soccer will be out. It is being chrono boosted, so yeah, there's still a decent amount of damage you can do. Beautifully done here for Bistork, preventing a full wall from coming up.
Not just a full wall off, this also provides high ground vision as well. The first Stalker is on the way. The pylon is still up and running, and the Stalker is going to be dishing out a lot of damage, but the bunker is about to finish. Oh
no! Bunker does not finish up. No add-on just yet, and he's not building a CC2 wall that off either, but this is still pretty dang fine for Anemos. He really only has to worry about one Zealot. That Zealot actually doing quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, man.
I say it's just one Zealot, but then I remembered that there were only SCVs here, so...
Yeah, never underestimate the power of a Zealot, Papi. The Zealot is getting even more damage. Finally, it will eventually be dealt with. Meanwhile, a Deeper gets taken out here by these Stalkers. The bunker, a little bit too far behind.
Yeah, a little unfortunate on positioning, but in fairness, I suppose that's also just about the only place he could position. This was a really good... Honestly, yeah, this was looking to be a really good position for Anemos, but I'm not sure what it was. He either overestimated or underestimated the Zealot.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a shame that the Zealot was able to get into the main base. Like, it was a little bit of an oversight. The wall was not a wall. It took a while for the bunker to get up and running as well. 7 SCVs went down. Bistork with a massive probe lead, and he's not committed. He's expanding behind this.
Yeah, getting the Nexus, getting his Twilight Council. He's dealt the damage he needs to do. I mean, even now, he has Anemos, has the tank out now. He's not being too aggressive with that tank, which means that it's going to be so much harder for Anemos to land his orbital.
Yeah, exactly. Bistork, the name of the game right now is to contain his opponent. That is all he cares about. Anemos, he checks down the low ground, will confirm the Stalkers are still here. And again, expanding is going to be that much more of an effort. Finally, he does on siege. He is slowly leapfrogging his tank over.
Bistork still getting a couple of pickoffs here and there. And a pretty nice split here on the Stalkers, trying to minimize the splash damage as much as possible. The Stalkers are still here, by the way.
Yeah.
So he's still kind of containing Anemos, but has realized that's way too much for me to deal with. I would much rather have these Stalkers at home, or at least in a safe position.
And after all said and done, honestly, I feel like Bistork, he is ahead here. Like, looking at the units lost tab especially, he was able to kill 8 SCVs, contain his opponent to 1 base. He has maintained a very nice lead, and I also appreciate that he's not doing anything cheeky behind this. He's not going into a Dark Shrine. Like, he's going into Blink instead.
Yeah, just keeping himself safe and standard. Safe and stable, I should say.
Yeah. No unnecessary risks here from Bistork. Even though, you could argue that maybe there is a place for DTs, your opponent is gonna be wanting to mule as often as possible. It's like, why risk it, mate? It's the ace match and there is no lower bracket.
Exactly. That's what's so cutthroat about the second qualifier, man.
God. Meanwhile, this Cyclone went on a journey, mate.
And it lived.
It lived.
Surprisingly.
Oh, God. He's got a story to tell, mate. Meanwhile, we have a lot of Blink Stalkers. Only a single tank, and immediately the tank is going to get focused down.
Does get focused down. The Cyclone as well going to be running out of room to kite. The bunker surprisingly finished up, but the Marines are not backing into the bunker. Blink is still not done, by the way. I want to point this out.
Yeah, exactly. Blink is going to finish up in 10 seconds, but it may just be a little bit too little, too late here for Anemos. Despite the bunker being done, it was never filled up. It was never set up, and Bistork, just like that. We had such a strong showing from Anemos, but, mate, it's still Bistork.
Yeah, he caught Anemos just at the right time as he was transitioning. Nice mineral walking from our Red Terran player. Oh no, the SimCity working against his favor a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Bistork blinks in, takes out just about every single SCV. Doesn't want to waste his blink though.
He doesn't, but again, he's just killed so much. 27 SCVs go down. He's down to 7 SCVs, mate. 7 workers.
But he's got 3 mules. It ain't gonna be enough. GG is called, and Bistork will take that series 2-1, but a very powerful stroke, but a very strong showing from Anemos. Nice.
GG, well played. Congratulations to Bistork for taking down that ace match, that game number 3, and moving on in the bracket. My condolences there to Anemos. I do think that he was a little bit too, in a way, greedy there in his defense. He didn't just get, he got his first tank out, which was great. Then he got a Cyclone, then he got a second Cyclone, which meant that, again, he was playing blind. He didn't know if there was an Oracle coming, right? He didn't know if there was a War Prism. He didn't know what his opponent was doing, so he was trying to cover as many options and avenues as possible. But because it was pure Blink Stalker, we just needed more tanks.
Yeah,
we needed more tanks to
just
cover more area.
Yeah, pretty much. It's always a risk going for Cyclones like that. Because, yeah, they're really good at taking down key units that the Protoss player will have. The kiting is fantastic, but 2 things to consider. 1, when you're playing defensively, you're going to run out of room to kite very, very quickly. 2, like you said, there was no, observer or warp prism or anything that he needed to shut down. It was just pure mass stalkers. I almost said blink stalkers, but blink only finished up towards the end of that game.
Yeah.
Pure stalkers, and Cyclones don't do the best against a whole lot of stalkers, but I gotta say, I'm very excited to see more of him, Anemos, in the future qualifiers, and hopefully the future main events or main regional events as well, because I think he's kind of proved that in a standard game, he has that macro absolutely down, the decision making as well. So it's not the end for him.
Exactly. Again, this is the first time that we've seen him in a DreamHack qualifier, and Anemos, you can still see that there are kind of areas that he can refine his play a little bit more. He's much of a newcomer to the scene, and there's a lot of potential there. As you said, in the mid game, he does look very solid. He has really great decision making, really great positioning, really great map awareness as well. It's just in the early game when things are a little bit more chaotic, that's where he can struggle a little bit more. But that's just something that you get better at through experience.
It really is, your light. And we do have a couple of updates here on the bracket. So first off, Bistork does have an opponent already lined up for him in what is already the qualifying match, actually. It's a bit of a smaller bracket today. It's going quick. He will be up against Shinobu. But it looks like Little Wolf has taken out Eris Rush 2-0, and it's going to be facing Yogur.
Who?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Crazy, mate. Little Wolf comes out of nowhere, takes down Eris Rush, and will be going up against one of the best Zerg players in Taiwan. Impressive.
I really thought that this you know, here, obviously, in the lower half of the bracket, Bistork was definitely the favorite, and I still think would be the favorite if he was going to go up against any other player in today's bracket. But I was looking at the upper bracket, and I thought, okay, Yogur, he's the favorite there, but there's a very good chance that Ares Rush can take him out in a best of 3. There's no chance of that happening anymore now. He is up against a bit more of an unknown player. That's... what is going on today, Light?